I am joined, as per ever, by Adam, who I've not seen for a few weeks. Hello, Adam.
Hello, how are you doing, Andy?
I'm fine, fine. Joe's been standing in for me for a couple of weeks, which is nice. She gets to talk to you as well. We like hearing from you and what you're saying.
Well, thank you. I enjoy having a chance to talk with you. So it is always fun to talk about the realms overlapping of entertainment, technology, music, media, all of those things. So thank you.
Very welcome. Right, where would you like to go tonight to start us off?
Boy, it's actually a little bit of a challenge to even know where to start. I'm going to start someplace a little bit maybe unusual.
Jolly good.
We have talked about The Chosen before, but there is a new series coming out called The Chosen Adventures. Have you heard about this? Is this on your radar?
I do know about it because we work with COVID International, who are the UK distribution folks for The Chosen. So yeah, I saw that earlier on one of their social media posts.
So this is an interesting and I think natural and kind of fun expansion of the Chosen universe. And I put it in, air quotes because everybody has a universe these days, right? We don't call anything a franchise anymore. It's like it's the X fill in the blank universe. The Chosen obviously is Dallas Jenkins' ongoing live action dramatic TV series depicting extrapolating and imagining what it might have been like to be a follower of Jesus, to be one of the chosen. We've talked about that at length in the past. This is something that is a part of that world, albeit in a totally different way. Now, over here, it's on Amazon Prime Video. I'm not sure where it might be streaming, but this will be a TV show. It is an animated, kind of old school animation style TV show. And it focuses on a little girl named Abby, and Abby is growing up in Capernaum, which of course is, if you know your New Testament at all, that's one of the main cities where Jesus ministers. Abby has very devoted Jewish parents, and it's just kind of imagining what it might have been like to grow up and have learning and faith-building adventures during that time. And she has heard of Jesus and is kind of fascinated with him and occasionally intersects him, but he is not necessarily like a sidekick or a core character. In fact, the sidekicks here are some animals that don't talk to humans, but they talk to each other. And the creator of the show says it's almost like a Greek chorus and that they comment on Abby's decisions. And it's a lighthearted, fun series. Each episode is like 11 or 12 minutes, sort of like the old school cartoons that so many of us grew up with back when we were still riding dinosaurs to school and such before the advent of everything, pretty much. I think if you can sort of deal with what they're doing here, it's really interesting. And so each episode, Abby is sort of grappling with some particular lesson. Why do bad things happen? Why does God let bad things happen? That sort of thing. And so some of those encounters are with Jesus. Often they're with her parents who are really trying to guide her along the way. So I think this is a really lovely addition to the growing Chosen universe. And it's a bit different than anything. I'm not sure we've ever seen anything quite like this before.
I do like short length cartoon stuff. I am nearly 50 years old.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved the How to Train a Dragon series of cartoons. After we saw Guardians of the Galaxy, they came up with a little tiny miniature series of Groot.
Yep.
That sort of stuff for me.
That was a great show. I loved that show. Yeah, it was terrific.
Yeah.
Because, how many different ways can you say I am Groot? A whole bunch, actually. Yeah. Almost an infinite number.
I loved it. But those little short form cartoons, I absolutely adore them because she's not got a lot of time. You just want something distracting, entertaining. They're absolutely ideal. Not all of them pan out. The Lego The Lego cartoon, they were really good as well. They don't
Yeah.
always quite do so well.
Yep.
The Lego obviously they lent into Star Wars, lent into Lego,
Yeah.
and I think if anybody does that, it works. But I like little short form cartoons. For me, nearly
Yeah.
50, I like them.
Well, you're not the only one. I mean, I think we could jump off and head straight off the trail into the woods at this point and just ask the question, how is short form video in general, which we encounter on all manner of social media and mainstream media these days? Frankly, you can't go to even a news site, let alone YouTube or Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, without having, short video being front and center. And I think it's really, I think it's affecting us. People started talking about problems with attention span back in the 1980s. Neil Postman in Amusing Ourselves to Death was talking about some of the evils of television. And that seems like positively old fashioned these days, right? Because we're being trained, groomed, invited, pick your verb, to just binge on, short video. And I think it makes our appetite for longer things. I think it blunts that because we don't have the kind of attention span that we used to have.
You have inspired me to something encouraging I have been thinking of late. A shameless plug for our
Good.
magazine.
I love shameless
I know.
plugs.
So this is the magazine we produce. Okay, we've done. We started this in February. Now the articles generally in here they're about 600 words or so. They're not long. Okay,
no, that's not. That's like one page ish.
It's one page,
maybe two if you have a lot of art on the spread.
Exactly, and I think that's about. And it's a nice little article. You can just get a little bit of a skim. You're not going to dive deep into that. We have some bigger articles, maybe 6,000 words. I don't think they're particularly long. I can write 10,000 words in not that long a period of time if I really want to. Yep. I got some feedback from someone said we've asked in the office, and they also you need much shorter articles. They're far too long. People need shorter. And I remember saying, no, actually, no. Why? Why do we need to go shorter? And I've actually gone the opposite way of, well, not gone bigger, but thinking, no, I think 600 words is okay. I write much longer Facebook posts sometimes. You know why?
Right.
Why not? Why do I need to keep it down to 160 characters? I don't have to. I can write longer. And let's go there. I really think short form stuff, not cartoons, that's slightly different, but short form videos.
Except the short form stuff we like, right?
Exactly. Well, precisely. But I think some of the short form stuff we see, like the little clips of something to entice you in, it's clickbait. It's clearly what it is. It's just trying to get you to do it. And I've noticed a switch, I would say in the last 2 years, this isn't factual, but I'd say about 2 years or so.
Anecdotal,
that people are more and more going for extreme, what I'm going to call extreme clickbait. And when you read the article, it's absolute nonsense. There's doesn't nothing. Fit it. And I'm thinking, if I see clickbait now, I don't think, oh, what's that? What I go is, what's the next post? I'm not interested.
How often do you get to the end of the article and you have forgotten what the clickbait title was, and you get to the end of the article and like, I think there was supposed to be a payoff here, but, and you'll go back and look at the title to remind yourself why you even looked at it in the first place. And you're like, well, they didn't even answer that question. They didn't even deal with that. The clickbait is out of control. And I think the unfortunate thing is anybody who is trying to create meaningful content has to grapple with it, right? I mean, I know on YouTube, at Plugged In, we're creating a lot of YouTube content, and the YouTube content that tends to get traffic is stuff that is, inflammatory, really negative, or something that has 10 exclamation points behind it and somebody doing, making the O face to, say what a horrible thing. And, there are things that probably deserve that kind of expression and that fit that. But when we are having a diet that is only, really, really extreme stuff with 3 exclamation points behind it, again, what are we missing? Are we missing real content with nuanced arguments? And I think that in our, again, now we're a step further, the ongoing sense of polarization culturally between different people who have different political, philosophical, or spiritual points of view, we have all been conditioned to, bullet point sound bites that have no nuance, no context. It's just this statement, so and so is a fascist. Fascist. Well, do you even know what a fascist is? Right? Can we have a conversation about Mussolini? Let's talk about fascism, right? And I'm not let's talk about fascism, but you know what I'm saying is the language becomes this sort of shorthand for all of these ideas, but we may not even know that that word is being used in a way that's not historically accurate at all. Anyway, that's a lot. So I just jumped way off at that point.
It's my favorite stuff. I mean, I am encouraged though. You've reminded me of something that's been encouraging me of late, that we either try and do super short 2.5 second blood and murder, and then people might want to watch it. Or we think, do you know what? No, Instagram, just take one example of one social media channel. They are, in theory, when they began, it's all about the images. And they had pretty good software for images. And then because I've done lots of videos, then they changed the size of the video. And then a bit later, they've changed it again. And we had a conversation the last time they changed their format once again. This isn't geeky speak. I'll show you why in a minute. And we said, I actually said, no, I refuse anymore to do stuff their way. Facebook, X, which are the two we use, or websites or emails, we use landscape photos. Okay, it's how you see stuff. So I've refused on principle.
No, I hate the phone aspect ratio. Drives me crazy.
Seriously, turn your phone around.
It's horrible.
Exactly.
Now, just because everybody's shooting it that way, we all shoot it that way because that's what we've been given. But, I don't want to watch a video in that aspect ratio. I just don't. And maybe that makes me old. And again, my kids, I can feel them somewhere hearing me rolling their eyes, right? You're so old. But I want a 2 to 3 aspect ratio. It should look like a movie, right?
But this is my point, you see. So, and this is where it comes back to what we talk about. We have booked the trend because I refused on principle to generate content exclusively around what Instagram wants. Right. Because we're not going to create 5 different formats. We're going to do one thing and replicate it. Of course we are.
Exactly.
And I refuse on principle to do it phone held up the wrong way around. So we're going to do landscape. And it was actually quite an in-depth conversation in the office of what are we going to do? Because they've changed the format. Now it looks stupid. Don't care.
Right.
I'm not here to suit Instagram.
I, for one, will come to your website and give you a click.
Thank you.
To vote in your favor. But I do think it also speaks to, and now I'm free associating in yet another direction, that this realm of what we affectionately call content creation, it's a moving target, right? And virtually everyone is creating some kind of content these days, even if it's just for your Facebook page, right? You're writing sentences, you're putting pictures up, you're using filters, you're cropping stuff. You're thinking about fonts. You're using Canva to do a slide for your YouTube page. Like all of us, almost accidentally, we've all become graphic designers, right? We've almost all accidentally become photographers. Now, I know the actual trained graphic designers and photographers out there, again, are rolling their eyes saying, yeah, you have no idea what you're doing. And you're probably right, but there's so much of this stuff that we're consuming via social media that we're all sort of immersed in that world constantly, and those trends are constantly changing, and it just keeping up is exhausting, right? It's like, I don't want to do that. So good on you for taking a stand and saying, no, Instagram, we're not doing that.
Which comes back to what we talk about, which is bucking the trend. It's saying, you know what, we're just not just going to just blindly go along the road and think, it'll be fine. Actually, it may not be, because if you're going to go and watch a movie, if you're going to listen to the latest Taylor Swift album, if you're going to watch and read a book on horror by Stephen King, you actually do need to know what's in that book. Somebody somewhere has got to watch that film, read that book, listen to that tune and say, do you actually know what's in here? A friend of mine many years ago, this is mid to late 90s, bought us a CD. I'm not going to mention the artist. They bought the artist. They bought the album. The people in the music shop said, please understand, sir, the language in here, it says explicit. It's extremely explicit. Yeah. He gets it home. He starts to play it. And he's a Christian. He says, I don't, this isn't a Christian thing. I can't listen to this. This is so
Right.
disgusting and vile in the language because he disregarded the warnings. And that, he does a nice little segue, is exactly why we have plugged in.
Yeah, that's exactly why we have plugged in. And we want to give you the information you need to make the best decision you can as a family. And at a bigger level, we want to just be paying attention to the trends on what's happening with this stuff. And, the Taylor Swift album that just came out is a great example. She has produced another album that has quite a lot of profanity on it. And it saddens me that, the girl next door, this is the best of the best in some ways in terms of how our culture thinks about it, that is just commonplace. And I think one of the trends that we have seen is just an increasing amount of really coarse and foul language, especially in music. And so we want to help you and equip you so you don't have an unpleasant surprise there.
Amen to that. Let's do another review of something that you've done recently.
Yeah. So there's another interesting film out this weekend called Truth and Treason. Have you heard about this one?
No, I have not.
So this is an Angel Studios movie. And we have talked, I believe, before. Angel Studios is owned by some brothers who are LDS. They're Mormon. Most of their faith-based offerings are, I would say, kind of generic. Like they have a sort of vaguely Judeo-Christian-ish vibe without necessarily being altar calls to give your life to Jesus. There are other filmmakers who do that, the Kendrick brothers being maybe at the top of that list. This is interesting because I don't remember them doing this before. This is a story about a Mormon teenager in Nazi Germany in 1941 named Helmuth Hubner. Or Huebner, I'm not sure. I'm not up on my German, sorry. Who basically takes a stand for Jesus and to protect the Jews, and is one of the youngest people up to that point to be executed by Hitler. And so it's remarkable to me how we seem to have no shortage of true stories about incredible things out there. And this is another one. And so, this is a pretty well done movie. And he absolutely takes a stand, knowing that it is going to cost him, and it does. And I think at the same time, I am mindful that there perhaps is in some people's mind a blurring between the LDS, the Latter-day Saints, expression of faith and the Christian faith. It's Jesus, Church of Jesus Christ and the Latter-day Saints. So Jesus figures into what they believe, and yet it's not little o Orthodox Christianity. There are some pretty significant differences between what the Mormon church talks about and, the traditional Christian church. And so I find myself conflicted, right? That there's an interesting, inspiring story, and at its core is a religion that has some trappings that overlap with Christianity, but yet I think ultimately is not Christianity. And so I wonder how much people are aware of some of those theological nuances. And just on another level, I had no idea that there were Mormon churches in Germany in the 1930s and 40s. That was new information to me. I did not know that. So, but having said all that, really interesting and inspiring and pretty well done film. So lots to think about with that one. And again, it was called Truth and Treason.
Right. Yeah. No, I wouldn't have thought of Mormon churches in Germany. I just wouldn't enter my brain.
Time.
No,
not at all, actually.
No.
But we also know that it's a church that is very serious about evangelizing. So I guess it's not a surprise. I had just never thought about it before.
Hey, look, every day is a skill. It's a learning day. I say this all the time, and it is. It absolutely is. Right, Adam, thank you. We'll be back next week for more. For all the other reviews that people might want, or to get deeper into the two that you've mentioned, where do they come to?
You can come to pluggedin.com. And we, of course, are a ministry of Focus on the Family.
Adam, thank you kindly, sir.
You bet. Thank you, Andy.